Now, today we're going to be talking about the scariest horror movies that I've ever seen. The first movie we have is called Speak No Evil, released in 2022. And we're starting off with the least scary movies and going to the scariest. But this movie is pretty unsettling and disturbing already, so it's only going to get worse from here. Speak No Evil is about a Danish family that becomes friends with a Dutch family on vacation in Italy. The Danish family starts to notice some really weird, off-putting things about the Dutch family, and the whole thing basically spirals completely out of control. And I'm not going to spoil it, but the last 10 or 15 minutes of this movie were insane. The whole atmosphere of the movie is very just discomforting, and you just feel such a sense of dread when you're watching it. This horror movie explores the danger of keeping quiet and ignoring the red flags, especially when people can seem friendly or inviting. And this movie is what got me into horror movies, so it definitely has a very special place in my heart, but it's at the bottom of the list because it doesn't really make me as scared as the rest of the ones here. The next movie that we have is Long Legs, and this is the most recent release out of all the movies here. Long Legs was definitely controversial in terms of if people liked it or not. Some people thought that it was comical, and I totally see that, but I saw this in the theater and I cannot deny that I was genuinely terrified. The premise of the movie is a rising FBI agent named Lee Harker who's investigating a series of murders that she realizes has a personal connection to her. It's very scary and unsettling, and I don't know a lot about the movie making process, but I know they put a lot of work into making this a visually appealing movie. I was really scared after watching it, and then I watched it again at home, and it was also just as scary. I can see why some people have issues with this movie because it's not perfect, but I think that if it scared me, then it's a good movie because I'm going to judge it just based on that. Now we have Baskin. We're starting to get to the threshold of just genuinely awful and horrifying movies. This movie is about a group of Turkish police officers that get a call late at night, sending them to this old abandoned building. And as they go deeper into the building, they realize that they're literally going through the entrance of hell. This movie is insane and sick and extremely graphic, but in a more mature, not super in-your-face kind of way. I've watched this movie like 5 times, and I get just as scared each time because the images on the screen are genuinely just so terrifying. It's not really a movie that disturbs you like psychologically because it's very fantasy and kind of an escapism vibe, but I just love it, and I think it's so underrated. If you just want to watch like a nice classic horror movie, I would really recommend this. Our next movie, and it's getting to the point of being really scary now, is Incantation. This movie is a wild ride about a Taiwanese woman trying to restart her life after getting back custody of her daughter. Her past is slowly revealed, and something really bad that she did is revealed, and it's just an extremely crazy and unique and creative story that I love. I tried rewatching this movie because of how much I liked it, but it was just so scary and unsettling that I could not do it. It's in found footage style, which can often be cringy and artificial, but it's just so authentically scary and realistic. If I could recommend for you guys to watch any movie on this list, it would definitely be Incantation. Now we're on to Megan is Missing. This movie is just so sad and realistic and horrible and repulsive. The acting in this movie, specifically in the very last scene, is so good, especially for such a low-budget movie. And I want to talk about this movie a lot because it makes me pretty sad to think about how the premise of the movie is something that's happened in real life, probably to hundreds of thousands of kids. So there's not much more to say about this movie, just that it's very scary and very real, and the fact that it's real just makes it so much worse. The second to last movie that I want to mention is the Poughkeepsie Tapes. This movie is freakish and sadistic, and I would not watch it again, and that's exactly why I ranked it so high. It shows the work of a serial killer over decades, and it's also found footage style. It's very intense, and there's very unique scenes of not just gore, but also terror and uncanniness. If you're looking for something that will scare you, make you feel uncomfortable and disgusted, this is definitely the movie for you. The last movie, and what is the scariest movie I've ever seen, is called The Medium. This is a movie that's based in Thailand, and it's about a girl who becomes possessed by a goddess that the local people worship. Her name is Mink, and she starts to exhibit very unusual demonic behavior. Her relatives try to rebuke and exorcise the spirit out of her, but they do the opposite and it just worsens the situation. It's filmed in the style of a documentary, and it spirals towards the crazy and genuinely terrifying ending. This movie has everything that makes a horror movie scary: an unsettling plot, jump scares, lots of gore, and it's just an overall very terrifying movie, and I think it's such a hidden gem. It's quite similar to Incantation, but I felt that this movie was just so much scarier because of the rural vibe in Thailand, and just because like a lot of elements made this movie just so scary, and I would really recommend you guys to watch this. This concludes my video, and I hope that everyone watches at least one of these movies because they are very, very scary. And yeah,